Greetings!
Hi!
Hello, friends, subscribers. We are back again.
It's Christina.
And it's Claudia.
We are coming at you. Both of us have returned from a trip. We are delirious and we are upset.
Whew. I apologize for the many times I will likely yawn. I will try my best to mute it so that future Christina isn't editing every yawn out. So tell me about your trip, girl. Where you went?
I went to California. I saw my friend and we went to Barbie Land where we got to be life-size Barbies, which was wonderful. But
Yeah.
I had beaten the jet lag by just being extra while we were there, and it sort of caught up, I think, or I don't know. Today I've just been like I'm trying to hold my eyes open, but not tired, just fatigued,
Yeah, I
How
mean,
about?
you were there for a solid weekend.
Yeah, that was it. It was a whirlwind of pink and glitter.
Oh, you jet setter, you.
Yeah, you know what else I had?
What?
I had the Erewhon smoothie.
Oh, that $20 bullshit?
Yep. Shout out my mom, who dead ass texted me, YOLO, Christina. Everyone's getting it, and Zelled me $20.
Okay, Drea. Okay, Drea.
Shout out Drea.
Dre
Drea
Dre.
sounds lit.
I mean,
Dre Dre.
Dre is lit, bro. I'm so glad I
It looks
showered.
good.
I mean, she's still wet. Mostly
I
wet.
mean, your hair must have been full of bramble.
Girl.
Tell me about your weekend.
Guys, I have never gone camping a day in my life. The closest thing was we had a friend in PA and she had a house and we stayed at the house. Listen, she had snakes in that really tall grass. Woof. In that
Woo!
really tall grass. They had a neighbor that owned chickens that would just cross the dirt path whenever it felt like it or they felt like it. There was a bear. Come on. That's wildlife. That's middle of nowhere. That's borderline camping, bro. We went to this place in the Poconos with my job. It was just for the seniors. I work in a high school. And the seniors were good. They were not the problem. I mean, the place also wasn't the problem. It was more so the poor planning on our part. I was prepared. I had sheets. Because we had to bring our own sheets, our own comforter, our own pillow. So I set everything up. It literally looks like the Parent Trap. All the female chaperones, there were 9 of us in one cabin. And we had our own little bathroom. And okay, talking about the bathroom in the cabin. I am a woman of 5'9". Okay. Christina, how tall are you?
I'm a humble 5'3".
Oh, okay. I was going to say what? You're 5'2", right? Look at me knowing things. So when I say this shower head was even short for you, a female of 5'3", I'm not even exaggerating. Literally, it was a curved, spout, right? We'll call it a spout, but shower head. And when I say it came to mid chest bone on me, it would be maybe here for you, cheek. But you'd have a better chance of getting under the water than I did. It was a whole song and dance. I had to get low, 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 low to even think about it. Thank God I wasn't washing my hair that day because I washed my hair the day before. But it was a body shower and I was like, ooh, I got all the soap off. I hit the back of my neck and I said, who do I think I am? So that's main critique number 1. Why are these showers so little? And I acknowledge that maybe children were meant to be in these cabins, but there are such a thing as tall children. But there were 2 of everything. There were 2 toilets, but in stalls, right? So privacy. We love that. There were two
It's
showers.
giving his and hers.
Yes, there were a his and hers sink, but then there were also his and her showers, but a curtain
It's giving
dividing.
Noah's Ark.
I don't know what it was giving, but it gave. So again, we are city folk. Even these children, most of them probably haven't seen much wilderness a day in their life. Again, me, a woman in her 30s as well. So it doesn't really say much about the kids. But we were told to bring all these things. And I checked the weather before we got there and I was like, okay, 45. It's going to be fine. So I packed these sweatpants that I have, like, that are like on the thinner side. They were like PJ sweats, so they weren't like thick. And then I also packed thick sweatpants, but like I only had short sleeves and I brought my Hunter College hoodie, right? You know, we were all hanging out outside until like maybe 10 p.m., 11 o'clock. And at around 11 o'clock, we had to go around to our cabins, making sure our kids were in their assigned cabins, and then like seal the door. What I mean is we're not locking these children in. Everybody calm down. We took like these like hello, my name is labels, and we just put them on like the outermost door just to ensure that they didn't get into any funny business. Okay.
What do you want? Drag race?
Girl. Cut to, we all get back to our cabins. We snuggle in. We're like, ooh, yeah. We all took our like baby showers. And in the middle of the night, we're just like, ooh, she chilly. This is a lot. And so I was fearful to get out of bed, to slap on my thermals, to then slap on my PJ sweats, because I was afraid of how cold it was outside of my comforter. And like, I didn't want to be half naked in this. Oh, and I packed cozy socks. See, I was so prepared. And I was wearing the cozy socks. And like at one point I had to pee and I was just like, regret.
Y'all are getting sued.
I don't think we are, honestly. Like, it's out of our control. And if I
this
think
was the senior trip?
Yeah, the kids loved it, honestly. Outside of that part of like, you know, almost getting hypothermia. Almost.
I guess kids can withstand. I don't know.
But yeah, it was a good time. I got some color. Got to start the.
Wow.
And I put. Oh, by the way, I have travel sunscreen for us for Disney.
That's next week.
I know.
We're almost through with Mermaid.
So that was a good Sagoo.
I know, right?
Great Sagoo.
It's like I listen to other people's podcasts or something.
Crazy. You? Never.
I don't.
That's why you never. Me? Yes. Also, I am wearing one of my favorite podcast shirts.
That's so cute. I love that for you.
It's great. Anyway, you want to give the people
as well. Free advertising.
Not that they need it, because they're successful. They're actually touring. Anyway. But we will get there. We will be there eventually.
You know what wasn't successful?
This story.
This book of the month.
Mm-hmm.
The book that you all had access to if you reached out was the Poor Unfortunate Souls book by Serena Valentino, which is a Disney Press publication, and it is one of a series. Claudia, I think let's just talk a little bit about the story itself, and then I think there are some takeaways or some educational extrapolations we can share with the good people who come to us for good book recommendations.
That is so kind of you to say. Takeaways are very, very strong words that you're using.
It's also a synonym for when you like take away good food from a restaurant, and we're not taking away good food from this restaurant. That's how I'm gonna lead.
That's valid. I mean, all right. I'll hit you with the summary. All right. They Bay villain Ursula. She is fueled by hate in this origin story that takes place just before, during, and after the events of the successful 1989 Little Mermaid. And this novel is one of 10 in a villain series, so each villain has their own book installment. So do keep that in mind that this is book 3 of those 10.
I just don't have. Okay, I have nothing to say. Go on.
We'll
Please
get
go on.
there.
Please go on.
And honestly, this isn't stated anywhere in this damn book that it is part of a series. And yeah, we get new characters who add motive to Ursula's scheming, but most importantly, we find Ursula juxtaposed with Triton, who is her legit brother, which I think that was supposed to also be canon in the original movie, but it got ripped out. So,
I couldn't remember.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't remember if that was like a bomb being dropped or if I was supposed to have known that.
All I can say is I knew that before this book. That's all I can confirm. I don't know where I found it. I don't know if it was in like podcasts that I listened to. I don't know if it was like a random article that I came across, but I remember knowing that.
So then it's not just enough that we find out that Triton and Ursula are siblings, but it turns out that from Ursula's perspective, Triton is a long-lost sibling because as a baby, Triton allowed Ursula to float away, which to me, it was giving Moses for a hot minute because, Moses leads his victims to the promised land. And what's Ursula's whole manipulation scheme? I'm going to lead you to your promised land. Psych, you're a soul in my garden. Right?
Well, actually, okay, Bible is what I meant to say.
Okay, Bible.
Old Testament.
Listen, Hans Christian Andersen was Christian.
And he had hands.
We know. And Ursula has tentacles. And Christianity is always the theme, apparently, when it comes to merfolk. I didn't realize that was like the crossover moment, Bible and merpeople, but here we are. So Ursula, baby Ursula, is floating around in a casket. No, not a casket. A basket. A basket. She's floating along. And some human fisherman, like a human, not a humanoid, human fisherman, sees this octochild and is like, yas, surrogate daughter, and like picks her out of the sea and raises her. And so part of like what was so unclear with this story was even in these like flashbacks where we got some of this motive, like her traumatic experiences, she would just talk about like being sometimes in human form and not, but it's just like I'm not clear on how quickly the people of the town got to see her true form and hated her and for how long she was hated or if she was hiding, which we'll talk about othering later, which I think all this is important. Yes. So I think it would make sense if, human fisherman daddy found her as an octopus, but then like how did baby Ursula know to shapeshift? I don't know. So all of that was just poor everything.
Okay. At least the way I read, because I feel like this happened, that she was having a Moana moment, that it was just like, the ocean just calls me. And like, I think she was in Vanessa form. I'm going to call human Ursula Vanessa, because that is her damn name in canon, Little Mermaid. So when she was in Vanessa form, I think that was primarily like what was going on, but like people had like the vibe that she was off. And then again, she had a Moana moment and she jumps into the water and then it reveals her true form as, Octobae. And then the townspeople are like, yo, that's crazy. Burn her. And then that's when Sarah Daddy dies.
So, all that is important. I feel like that should have been more clear because it's important to know when did she start to feel othered, because the whole reason she got sent away by her brother was he was like, ew, she's nasty.
Mm-hmm.
We don't stand. We are not into this. Bye. I'm gonna reign this kingdom with only beautiful mermaids because he's really biased and he only, I guess, apparently likes fish because he hates humans for killing fish. So he likes fish and he loves beautiful mer people, and that's it. Everyone else to him is trash, which is trash of him, but
Mm-hmm.
hates literally everyone else. So she's cast aside. So she calls this human father who rescues her, and she knows him as father until this Moana moment, basically. Moana. Why did I say Moana?
I don't
This Moana
know.
moment,
I don't know. Why did you say casket instead of basket? Who, girl?
bruh.
I blame the jet lag. We are just doing this on exhaustion, and honestly, I think it's going to be the funniest episode yet. Like you said, Triton loads these humans for their hunting of the seas, which I think is like a noble crusade. Like he's just like, nah, these humans, they doing terrible things. Fuck them. Ooh, kill. Or like, ooh, go away. Um, and honestly, like I do okay. I liked that Ursula had a pseudo zaddy on land because like it showed that she was capable of love, which I feel like in The Little Mermaid you don't
Mm-hmm.
necessarily see that. Like at least like true love, you only see like fake vengeful love when she's like, you know, putting Eric under her spell. So I did like that. Um, I just, again, I do like that as well. That we get the doubling down of Triton's loathing of humans because I feel like it justifies and explains like, you know, 1989 Triton. That it's just like, yeah, humans are shit. And honestly, low key, he's right. Some humans are shit. Um, and he is really like doubling down on this idea. But like, again, I think we could have gone a little harder. Okay. Also, full disclosure, I only read halfway through this book. So I will be talking up until I think about like chapter 11. That's as far as I got. Long story short, we did this for a month. Work was working, and then I was like, "Ooh, I'm gonna read it during this camping trip." Then that exhausted me. Then I was like, "Ooh, I'm gonna finish this on the bus ride home." And then I got motion sickness, low key, because of this traffic that I hit. So I will be upfront about that.
The only reason I was able to finish it was because I took I'm just gonna go hard here. Southwest Airlines to and fro where I was going,
Mm-hmm.
and there was no Wi-Fi, there was no payable Wi-Fi, there was no media, there was no TV in the back of my seat. And dumb me, I forgot to download like a ton of my Spotify playlists. So I had just the Phantom of the Opera to listen to on a 6-hour flight. So that was the only thing downloaded historically on my Spotify. So I had plenty of time to just get through it because I literally had nothing else to do.
But also, I think it's safe to say that Southwest is never going to sponsor us,
No.
which
But
is fine.
also, and can I just on the way home, I also took Southwest and I was able to pay for the Wi-Fi and I sent a grand total of like 3 texts because it wasn't syncing. So I left them a scathing review. So Southwest, I need that $8 back like now. You wasted so much of my time and $8 of my money.
That's crazy.
Right?
Southwest,
Like
I need you to hear me. You're not Spirit Airlines. At least with Spirit, you know what you're getting.
yeah, it's always a surprise. And it's bad enough it's like communist airlines. Like it's a free for all. You line up based on a number. There's no first, middle, last class. There's no bourgeoisie, no proletariat. You just get on and you sit with whoever. Last time I took them, my husband and I were literally split up because we were in like the end boarding group and nobody wanted to switch with us because everyone was like, I don't know, like all for one and one for all. Like, just take a seat. Never again. I will walk to California next time.
Or take the train. You could take a book. You could take a page from Keith's book. Chugga, chugga, chill, chill. This is where we get this whole, like, idea of, like, Triton showing up. Why is there a bug on my wall? Yo, why is everything going wrong? It's like a little guy. Hold on. We're doing great. I think God just doesn't want us to talk about this. Speaking of Christianity.
Well, we won't talk too much about this. I don't even want to talk about, like, the finale. We don't even have to, because, like you said,
I don't even know the finale.
I don't either. All I know is it ended the same way the movie ends. Like, she dies, right? But it was that whole other like the twisted multiverse. We'll get there. Hold on.
We'll get
there. We're not doing that crap. It's okay. So,
I'm skipping to the last page. I'm so curious.
You will get nothing. You will get nothing. I promise. So in that scene that
go on, I'll be here.
In that scene that Claudia is describing, where Triton comes and, like, kills her father in this wave, he's like, Ursula, I am your brother. And then, like, surprise, she's like, oh no, I'm entitled to the ocean. I hate him. And then she's just, like, fueled by this, like, familial rage, and she wants to commit fratricide. But not really. She would rather hurt him in his lifetime. So, she basically vows to destroy him for his loathing of her. This seems very, like, maladaptive and backwards. 2 wrongs do not make a right. 2 lefts do not make a right. 2 peas, they're usually more in a pod. I don't know what that means. So if she vows to destroy him, she's fueled by this hatred. So when we first started reading the book, the very first page, like, that first chapter was really cool because it talked about, like, her, like, being hateful. And I was like, oh, yes, this is going to be such a great villain story. And then it just went downhill, like, from page 3. But in the very first page, if you want to read it, we have it available. It talks about just she's in, like, human form and she's destroying a fishing village, which...
being a baddie.
It also, like, doesn't make sense that she'd be destroying human villages if she loved her human father so much. It almost seems like you're doing your brother a service, you know, inadvertently. Anyway, who am I? I'm not an author. I can't question the author gods. So she gets, like, yeah.
I hear you that we shouldn't be questioning the author gods, but we have read objectively, critically acclaimed, great literature.
We're gonna be questioning this multiverse in just a second. I think this was the part where both of us decided we made a bad book choice. Ursula is then led down into this, like, wild web of witchcraft and not wizardry, because all the witches are female, as we've discussed the last 2 weeks, right? And she is suddenly name-dropping, encountering, reflecting on this, like, multiverse of witches she's met. And this transcends Disney. This is, like, going into Greek myth. This is going into Grimm. This is going into, like, Disney live-action movie names for people. Wild ride. And, like, I would say, Claudia, like, you and I have a pretty decent knowledge of Disney in general. And, like, Greek mythology is, like, my jam. And even I was like, why are we rescuing the witch Circe in The Little Mermaid?
I was going to ask you.
I have no answer. And you know where Circe ends up being? In her Garden of Lost Souls.
Of course she is. Of course she freaking is. Oh my God. Keep going. I keep interrupting. I'm sorry.
That's basically the plot. I mean, if you can think it, Valentino linked it to this story. That's what I have to say. It was like every page there was, like, a new character or a new correlation. Like, the old lady taking care of this rando chick in the tower. She was the original Belle.
That is Nanny. Get it?
So Nanny.
Right. Nanny's a baddie.
Nanny is a baddie, but Nanny is taking care of this chick who was the original Belle before Belle.
Princess Tulip. Who that?
Tulip. Thank you. Never heard of her in my life. I haven't Googled this stuff because I was so frustrated with not being able to immediately, like, draw a parallel that I was like, this must be just made up. Like, this has to be made up.
Also, girl, you didn't have Wi-Fi to do that, or functioning Wi-Fi. Southwest coming at you again.
I didn't have the Wi-Fi. And I wasn't going to take notes and drain my battery. So here I was, lost in the air, not at sea, because I wasn't at sea. I was lost, and Princess Tulip is out here, and Nanny suddenly meets the cat, and then the cat reawakens Nanny's magic powers, and then she's the unnamed old one who's responsible for the beast becoming a beast or something. I don't know. I was like, where's this going? And then like even Ariel makes a guest appearance because like you said, we're following the story of the 1989 Little Mermaid, and we see Ariel and we see Ursula do the whole shenanigans. And
hold on,
how did you feel about that,
girl? I will just give me. I'm gonna get there. For one, though, honestly, my favorite characters was the cat. How do you even say that cat's name? How would you?
Pflanze? It means plants in German.
Why are we naming a cat plant?
I spent so many, every time that cat's name came up and I was reading plants, I was like, is the cat planting seeds for something? And she doesn't. I mean, she reawakens, maybe this was it, Nanny's witchery from decades and millennia prior. I mean, that's really a stretch.
Agreed. I just
crying.
Okay. The fact that Ursula is not my favorite character in this is a problem. And one of the reasons why is because of this line in chapter 7. And I highlighted it, and I'll show you my notes. Okay. So it's titled The Witch's Lair. And this is where we get the written form of Poor Unfortunate Souls, which any of us that have seen the 1989, again, Chef's Kiss, would know what song we're talking about. I'm not saying it's the best villain song. I'm just saying it is, I would say, at least top 3 for me, personally. Just saying. But we have the entire dialogue from it, along with some internal thoughts. And so we have, my dear sweet child, that's what I do. It's what I live for, to help unfortunate merfolk like yourself, poor souls with no one else to turn to. And then we get this internal thought. She hated oh girl. She hated performing and the way it made her feel, but she found it was the very best way to get her victims' attention, to entrance them with a spectacle they couldn't resist, and she did love the opportunity for a bit of cheek. These are my notes. That says lies. You're telling me a character who is based off of Divine, who is a drag queen, a performer. You're telling me that she doesn't like to perform? I don't. And you're telling me
in human form, she literally has to perform.
Okay, granted, in her human form in front of those humans, I can understand that. But you're telling me that in her au naturel, tentaclicious self, bombastic self, you're telling me that that woman who is like this when Ariel comes in doesn't like to perform? She puts on a red lip, for God's sake. She has blue eyeshadow. Again, she is a force to be reckoned with. Like, she wants to be noticed. You're telling me that she does not like to perform. You're telling me that when she pulls out this whole thing that she's like this one longing to be thinner, that one wants to get the girl, and do I help them? Yes, indeed. You're telling me she doesn't like performing? That's literally a whole magic show. She is a magician in this sense. Like, I don't... It doesn't make sense. How is that a character trait? Suddenly, she's, what's that thing called? An introvert. Like, I don't... It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense in terms of her characteristics. Also, if we think about how this ending is, of that movie, of the freaking movie, where she's this gigantic, tentaclicious villain with her crown,
Living
with
her best.
making a whirlpool, and like you get noticed. Is that not performative? Is that not something that a performer would do? Was the sea not her stage?
I hate it so much.
I just it doesn't make sense. And
I'm
like,
so offended.
okay. So with that sense, hated that. I was like, ooh, it's gonna be a spicy. We're gonna get internal dialogue. And then I got the internal dialogue and I was hella disappointed. And then I
I'm not
don't
gonna lie, like at first I thought it was cool that I was like, oh, of course, it's like meant to be the direct parallel of the book. So I get that the author's like giving us the words, the direct dialogue, the lyrics,
right.
but like it was nothing new except for these comments which were terrible. So I was like, I'd rather just be watching this because uh, this is like heinous.
Oh my God. And like I don't understand. And maybe you can explain this to me since you actually finished it. Why are there three different plots happening that shouldn't involve one another? We got Princess Tulip with Nanny and the cat. We have the three sisters looking for Circe, and then we have Ursula being Ursula. Like I this
Well, three is an auspicious number, first of all. So
ma'am,
that is why there are three. But why are there three?
don't fairy tale trait me, okay? I yes, but why?
I honestly I could not place those three odd sisters. Like I understood what it was supposed to be giving to us, but like I couldn't place who specifically they were meant to represent, nor why they are related to Circe, who is the nymph child of Oceanus. Mystery to me. Nowhere do we mention maybe Circe came to talk to Ursula about Odysseus to make him stay. We didn't get any of that. No, we got just a bitch in the garden now. Don't know. And Circe also being the nice witch to Princess Random Tulip, like the beast's like first attempt. Like I was so confused. And I was like, okay, maybe Serena Valentino just named this character Circe because it was symbolic. Still couldn't figure it out because I still don't know what deal she struck with Ursula. So perhaps it was in one of the other books and we missed it, but then how does Ursula...
I feel like with Harry Potter, for example, if you have heard, and I've taught Prisoner of Azkaban without reading Sorcerer's Stone and Chamber of Secrets. Okay? I feel like if there is any confusion, it's easy to Google it and understand why something is the way that it is in Harry Potter. And I'm not understanding why, or like there's, you know what it is in Harry Potter too, even if like you choose not to, there were, and I remember this, there were instances where they would kind of like explain to the reader that it was just like, um, oh yeah, I'm hoping that Professor Lockhart, and then they put like in a positive describing who Professor Lockhart was in the context of the story and then carry on. There was nothing given to like help explain, to
orient
help
us.
manage that. Yeah, like there was nothing. Thank you, that's the word. Orient. There was nothing to help guide us through this journey. And because also, why is Maleficent in this? It feels like Disney Press with Valentino are trying to create their own Pixar theory. And for those of you that don't know the Pixar theory, right? Because Valentino wrote all 10, correct?
I think so. And she is a graphic novelist too. So she's like not new to multiverse and, this type of genre.
So it feels like they're trying to do a Pixar theory thing. And like I was going to say before I interrupted myself, it's essentially the theory that all of the Pixar films are connected in some way, shape, or form through like the human experience, through the eyes essentially of Boo. It's a whole thing. I'm not going to explain the whole thing here, but it feels like they are trying to do that with this, and it's just not working at all. I want it. I want it to work. Like I love in-depth crazy theories like this, especially when like it just layers and like just makes sense, you know? Or like it just makes you go like, "Oh man, I did not think of that." Like because it adds to the fun, it adds to the lore, but this really doesn't add shit to the lore. Actually, it does. It adds shit. That's what it adds. Sorry, Disney press, please do work with us.
So we can always be critical of things we love, and that's Disney. It's not Disney Press.
That's true.
So I noticed that the series is a New York Times bestseller,
Lies.
and the slogan is "Evil is made, not born," which we can talk about, I think. In essence, the way it ends is the way the 1989 movie ends. She gets really big, and then she gets taken down. Except Prince Eric is helped by the Odd Sisters because they realized Ursula had betrayed them, and she was harboring their little sister Circe, who they had lost. And Granny and Maleficent helped them realize this. So they kill her. And then she disintegrates into the sea.
Oh, so she becomes Bubbles?
And then purple, like, bolus in the ocean.
Cute. Real cute.
Yeah, it's gross. And it's, like, depicted kind of nasty. So Circe, like, wakes up in the garden and she picks up, like, Ursula essence and like suddenly becomes her for a minute and lives through all the pain she felt. So I'm sure this is going to come up in future books where Circe will be like, I understood this villain. She was made, not born. The end.
I'm still not convinced, but okay.
Yeah, I think the biggest problem with this, which this might be like our hot topic, there was no suspension of disbelief. And it was literally embedded in the story that you and I know by heart from 1989. Mm-hmm. And Valentino just added elements and characters, but like it was too many things that were very complex.
But like, yes, complex, but also there was a lack of description going with the complexity. So it was just adding to the inability of understanding it. And I see here that the next one is Maleficent after this one. So like maybe we get the other side of that shape. I would say triangle, but there's already three stories in this. Cuz like if you think about how like at least the order in which it goes, it I guess you'd be getting more information from there because the beast is before Poor Unfortunate Souls. And so you'd be getting the Princess Tulip story there. And then we talk about Maleficent, then it would be what's her face? Mother Gothel. And then you get the Odd Sisters, which you don't necessarily need the Odd Sisters, but I guess I'm just frustrated. I'm trying to give reason to something that doesn't make sense. And I hate when I try to do this.
Yeah. So I went onto Amazon because I was curious to see if we were in the general consensus, and it turns out we are the outliers. It has 4,500 reviews, and it's got 4.5 stars. 4.6 stars, excuse me. And the majority of the reviews enjoy the multiverse thing, and they also, some of them say you should read them in order. But the part that's offending me the most, I'm sorry if you read this with us and you liked it, I'm really glad that you got something from this month because we felt really bad we recommended this book. That's how much we didn't like it. But a lot of these are saying Claudia, are you sitting? They enjoyed the character development.
What character development. Whose?
Yeah, I'm like, who?
Which character? The cat? Nanny? Tulip? Who?
Tulip!
The development is a very strong word. I would say character explanation for King Triton, maybe. But even that's a stretch. Like,
But the reviews that are more frustrated are all saying like we thought this would be more about Ursula and less about this like multiverse. And I think that's really our largest source of anguish here. So that being said, I would like to talk about Ursula because she's a baddie and she was very much undersold in this book. What do you think? Okay.
100%. Half of her face is on the cover. The whole reason why we chose this was to get her. Was for her. And what did I get? Not her.
No. And also, like, not a sufficient, I think, backstory to, her wanting to get back at her brother. And then I don't know if you got this far, but when Ariel finally like comes down to do the deal, she feels like a pang of guilt because apparently she really liked Ariel's mom.
Yes.
And Ariel's mom had been nice to her. And then that's it. That's all we get.
Like,
what character
tell
development?
me more about Athena. Tell me more about that story. Why couldn't the next chapter just be that? And then we can get the disappointing, poor, unfortunate souls chapter. Like, I'm not. And you are talking to like the number one villain sympathizer here. Like, with exceptions. With exceptions. Judge Frollo, I'm looking at you,
of course.
Bro. Judge Frollo. Can't justify you, hun. But like, I'm sorry. I cannot formulate words because of how deeply disappointed I am with this. And like, even with the other option that we had the other option of Part of Your World, A Twisted Tale, which was recommended to us by Color Me Courtney. She's great. But with that, we wouldn't have gotten very much background information of Ursula. And like, literally the whole purpose of this was to get the Sea Witch side. Was to get her. To make me sympathize with her even more. And I didn't get that.
So let's take our friends here back to talk about Ursula, who we know and love. Let's talk maybe about why they chose to make the Sea Witch into the half octopus lady, and let's talk about maybe some of her personality traits that do remain evident in this story.
Ursula. This name breaks down to she-bear. And if we think about the qualities of a bear as well as Ursula, well, first of all, bears are super cute and cuddly. Would I want to cuddle one in the wild? No, because they are going to maul me alive despite their appearance. And on top of, they are animals who want to survive, that they take their time in surviving. I'm thinking about like their hibernation periods, and I feel that Ursula, at least with this backstory, is biding her time in order to kind of come out of hibernation to get back at Triton. And also, Ursula she has audacity. Like, she has gall. And I think that's also why that line pissed me off. I'm sorry, I'm still emphasizing that. I would also call bears very skillful in their survival tactics as well. And I feel that Ursula is also skillful and resourceful in that sense too. So I do think that Ursula being she-bear, like meaning she-bear, and like thinking about the qualities of a bear, I feel like it makes sense. But also, if you think about a she-bear, I would also envision Like if somebody just said like, "Ooh, you a she bear," like that I'm like hulking in some way, I'm intimidating, and a woman being described as a bear,
Mm-hmm.
never, because women are meant to be very dainty.
I also think with she bears of when they are protecting their young, and obviously Ursula doesn't have young, but it's her lair and her rights to the in this story's case to her kingdom, and she's coming up with all these means to protect and get what's hers returned to her in a violent way, which she bears are known for that, and bears are hunted by other predators.
They are. I'm sorry, they're just so cute.
I know, I love bears, but she is hunted by her brother and humans and all the other big predators, and her agenda is to come out on top and protect what's hers. So I love that her name is Ursula.
I can't envision her name being anything other, like, when people just look like their name, she looks like an Ursula.
Yeah, totes. So as far as her species goes, we talked about this quite a bit last week. She's from this nomenclature called Cicalia, aka Silophyte, aka octopus people, aka octofolk, aka octopus woman.
Octomom not included.
I guess it could be Octomom.
I mean, I don't know her personality. I don't know if she would fall under this.
Not her, as you said. Villains are non-maternal, despite protecting what's hers, right?
You're right.
So we know this concept of a humanoid upper body and like a squid or octopus lower body comes from ancient legends of Native and Asian cultures. I don't know if you've ever been, Claudia, on the villains fandom wiki, but it looks like character character traits like on a Pokemon card. So it says like physiology octopus. It's just like, I don't know, I was cracking up when I was looking at it. But
I'm gonna look at it now.
Cicalia in these stories could be, as Ariana said last week, they could be either destructive or pretty neutral. It kind of depends on what the myth is portraying them as and what their role is in the story. But they practice thalassomancy. So thalassa is sea in ancient Greek. So mancy is like practicing divination. So it's based sea witchcraft.
I love it. I'm sorry. I was also laughing because I pulled up Villain Wiki. And it just says Ursula the Sea Witch, the Sea Demon, Vanessa, her human disguise, the Maiden, Arzulu, which is her mermaid disguise. Question mark?
What? All right.
Aware under her powers and skills. Thalokinesis, her necklace, Atmokinesis, magic potions, transfiguration, superhuman strength, manipulation, high intelligence, size alteration, shape-shifting, ability to turn merfolk into condemned polyps.
No, not a condemned polyp.
A condemned polyp.
You got to get that checked out at your next doctor's visit.
Oh my god. Oh.
Here's what her garden looks like. These are the polyps of her garden in your vocal folds. Everyone who's watching, this is what I look at work. You're welcome.
Yeah, and she had to confirm that I didn't have polyps or something. Anyway, continue. I'm sorry. I had to share.
That's pretty much it. I think another skill that you just mentioned that was pretty important was the camouflage, because octopus actually do camouflage and shapeshift when they need to. How awesome is that?
It's so freaking cool. So then we have here, and I will also mention other things about her hobbies. All right. So one of her hobbies is destroying mer people's happiness for her own gain, practicing witchcraft, making deals via contracts, manipulating mer people, causing despair to others, but most importantly, delighting in destruction. This is what we learned in this book. And
that's what you have in common with her.
Yeah. Chaos. Honestly, chaos. I love Loki. Loki is literal chaos, and Maybe that's why I'm in my villain era. Like, I just, whatever. Anyway, as we discussed last week, you remember with Ariana, Cicalia is also a subset of the merfolk. And this book definitely supports this, that they are the outcasts of the group. They are the variants, if you will. And if you saw Loki, you know about variants, babes. It's a variant perceived as something that is disgusting, despite still being part of their world. Can't stop, won't stop. Can't stop, won't stop. But again, Disney, as we know, when they are creating a movie, they are extremely detailed to the point that it's so sickeningly amazing how well researched, to the point that like they'll take a trip to wherever it is that a movie is based off of, like, or even bring the research to them. Like for the Lion King, if you don't know, they brought in animals like cheetahs and such to sketch them in order to find a means of like finding a balance between the two. For Frozen, they traveled, I think, to Norway to gain a sense of like that environment and trying to incorporate that as closely as they could, or like, and even down to, I think, Princess and the Frog, I think they also went to New Orleans.
Do you remember The Hunchback?
Girl, stop.
That whole thing before the movie, I would watch it every time because I was so shook.
I still watch it.
Same.
And even down to when animators are watching actors like do their lines, they will find means of incorporating those characteristics of how they express themselves into the characters that that are embodying their voices. We stand these Disney animators and writers for their ridiculous research tactics and purposes, because it does gain a deeper sense of things. And it also applies here that, you know, they are diving into global lore even before it was something that was like expected. And I feel like old Disney, like when we were first coming out with things, got a bad rap for certain things, for being like very one way, one sided. And I feel like things have developed further in that sense. So again, go off, Disney, go off.
Like, considering they took the Hans Christian Andersen story and then they plugged in all of this legend folklore to make these characters really suit historically, culturally who they could have been, I think is so cool. I mean, it's everyone's first, maybe, vision of a Cicalia class creature. Like, if you don't play, like, you know, sci-fi games or like watch sci-fi stuff or whatever, or
You can say it, Dungeons and Dragons. No.
okay, Dungeons and Dragons, or like you weren't aware of the Native and Asian culture folklore, and they did this before the internet. So like they, like you said, went to go talk to people. I just like read textbooks. It's just, oh, what a world they had to live in to get this right. But Claudia, they did this over however many years in the 80s. I found that it was still pretty hard to find information and other legends about Cicalia just using a plain old Google search. And it turns out that in 2007, the word Cicalia was actually coined for the first time on a forum. The concept of an octopus woman, specifically woman, predated the term by obviously like millennia, right? Because of the folklore already existing. Ready for the cringe?
Go.
There is a discussion board called Sea Tales. There was. And it was a mermaid enthusiast message board created by a man named Kurt Cagle. And he posted the world's first wiki article on Cicalia, inspired by Cilia, which was a 7-page short comic published in the Vampirella comic magazine. I guess in this there was an octopus woman, and somehow it's inspired by the song Cecilia by Simon and Garfunkel. So the woman in this short story turns out to be fickle and demanding as a lover.
Hold on.
Yeah, let the cringe settle in.
First of all, Sea Tales, woo! Simon and Garfunkel AKA Hello Darkness, my old friend.
I was wondering why Cicalia sounds like Cecilia, because I know a couple people named Celia and Cecilia, and I was like, there's no way they were named after sea witches. And they weren't. They weren't.
Wait.
Cecilia means something completely different.
Wait. Okay. Did you see Monsters, Inc.? Girl.
Of course. Not recently.
Okay. So Mike Wazowski's girlfriend, her name is Celia, and she has, what, might you ask? Tentacles.
That is awesome. What year did Monsters, Inc. come out? Oops.
I feel like... Hold on, wait. Don't tell me.
I'm looking it up.
I think The Incredibles came out in 2004. So I want to say Monsters, Inc. came out in 2006.
So Monsters, Inc. came out in 2001, which also predates the mermaid fetish discussion board. But I'm screaming. So I googled what the name Cecilia actually means. Can you see my screen?
Loading. Stop. No!
So the name Cecilia means blind. It's rooted in the blind saint Cecily, patron saint of music, who was a talented musician. Celia is the girlfriend. So let's see what the difference is between Celia and Cecilia.
Well, I would imagine that they would have similar roots.
I would too. So Celia is a given name for women of Latin origin. It could be a nickname for Cecilia or Celeste, but Celia itself comes from Kailios, which means heaven, like cielo, says our expert Shy Guy.
Yeah.
It's the sky. Celia Monsters, Inc. has Medusa hair and Ursula feet.
But yeah, I do agree with the idea that evil is made, it's not born. Because typically, if we think about like just the trend of good versus evil, oftentimes those that are evil, unless we're talking about OG fairy tales and there is no rhyme and reason, it's just good versus bad.
Right.
Typically those that are considered evil in like more modern tellings are made in that way. They have a reason why they are the way that they are. Again, not including Judge Frollo or Cruella de Vil.
Well, even Cruella's live action, I think, tries to convey. I didn't watch it.
Honestly, girl, it slaps.
I know. I just haven't watched it. It has, and I love Emma. I love her. So it's literally just I haven't.
So like with Frollo, I mean, again, not trying to defend this man at all. Not trying to defend Frollo in any way, but his justification is like being righteous and being like, he's not even a man of the cloth, but like I guess he could defend the cloth. Even though the cloth doesn't agree with him.
Frollo has he's the purest villain. He's raised under the schema of the Inquisition.
Yeah.
He was told this is okay.
He was told lustful, turn it off. Book of Mormon. He was told lustful thoughts, turn it off. So what does he do? I can't turn it off. I'm gonna have to kill her. There's nothing more evil.
Figure of speech, you kill the light.
Kill the light.
I mean, he is turning it off in some way.
Yeah.
Turn it off. Turn it off.
He is his origin story should never be tapped into because it would like infuriate religious groups. Like we get it. We know what his problem is.
It also can't be
Girl.
historically accurate.
It's the only historically accurate villain story.
No, it can't.
I hear you, but also Disney already has issues with religious groups because there's typically magic involved. So there's that.
That's true.
Anyhowsen.
Yeah, so I think what was successfully is a nice word to use. What was conveyed was something we already knew, which is that evil is made, not born. Wait, let me rephrase that. Because at the end of the day, all we really got was this hate hateful loathing between her and Triton is what inspired her to rage on random humans and to rage on him and to take revenge on him and try to hurt him in his lifetime and, you know, betray Ariel and all that to take over the seas. So I don't know if, like, again, going back to suspension of disbelief, which is apparently today's theme, I don't believe that we were sold on that origin piece enough, especially with all the confusing multiverse elements spiraling out of control, for her story to really support evil is made, not born. Despite, I thoroughly believe, inherently as the outcast figure, it's there. Like, that is definitely part of what makes her who she is. It makes her do what she does.
Okay. So, hear me out. When it comes to Snape, for example.
You went straight for Snape.
I did. Because Snape, and granted, this is also like an example of like a red herring. It's like so many different things. But Snape is literally the definition of someone who was essentially meant to be evil in the way that his experiences kind of lined him up. And he shows through his story, through that like one freaking memory, that he isn't the villain. And I think that's what I wanted from this. I wanted, like, basically that one pensive memory that shakes me to my core and changes everything that I had, like all the preconceived notions that I had of this character. And that it just rocks me to that point that it's just like, oh shit, this makes sense now. And again, I'm not justifying him abusing this poor child. I'm just saying that it was a great literary device that the editor of Harry Potter left in.
I agree. It was like the pivotal moment for understanding him, you know, and it was so well timed and placed. But
and in the second part, the second part of this novel, did they explore more of her relationship with the dad?
with her father?
With Lanzetti.
No.
So it was just like that 1 or 2 chapter set.
Yeah.
Now that's the problem.
Yeah, she just reflects on, like, Triton made me this way. Like, he took my father, and she, like, when she needs to be really angry and channel hate magic for, like, sea witchery, she thinks about that event. Kind of like, for a Patronus, Harry thinks about Ron and Hermione. So it's the opposite. To conduct an anti-Patronus, a hate Patronus, she thinks about that Triton killing her father and that whole scenario.
Do you know how when something bothers me, I try to fix it, especially in literature and movies? For one, Frozen, that was one for a very long time that something bothered me. And I created a little mini short story on how to fix it, but thankfully Frozen 2 fixed it. But, and I'm not saying that they copied my stuff, I'm just saying low-key they did. Anyway, my point being, I think one of the ways to fix this novel, right? We open with that chapter, right? And then we do a flashback. We don't even have the weird sisters, the odd sisters. That's what they're based off of. Macbeth.
Yes.
Sorry, my brain. I think I was just I was so annoyed that I didn't make that connection now. Ow.
The Fates.
I mean, yes.
3 wielders of destiny.
Duh.
Same.
But I
3
think
sisters, yeah.
if the goal was to gain sympathy for Ursula's story, we should have opened with that same prologue, right? Chapter 1 should be when father meets daughter, right? Boom. Then we go chapter 2. We're growing. It's almost like in Tarzan when we have Son of Man, where they do like the fast forwarding of like his life of learning to be an ape, right? But we slow it down a little bit. We go into all these positive interactions, and then we'll have sprinkling ins of like othering. Then we get to like the teenage years where like we talk about like, ooh, Ursula's like, ooh, this boy is cute, or this person is cute. We don't know which team she's in. And, you know, she's like, ooh, that person cute. And then she tries to talk to that person, boom, othered again. Okay, great. Then at around that time, that's when she has her Moana moment. Ooh, it calls me. She goes in, and then she's like, oh shit, this is why dad never let me in the water. Here I am, bombastic. And then everybody's over here like bombastic side eye. And then that's where we get to that part where dad dies. Triton claims her. Then we walk through that othering. Like, see, my story is already better.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Were you just trying to write like an origin story for the villain?
I think I did.
I don't think that was in the cards for this book, because this book ended up being about Princess Tulip. So, question for everyone out here. If you have read this whole series, what is it about? Like, what's going on? Why is Tulip the main character? Why is Granny getting cat powers? Like, what's this? What is the moral of the story? And why are we manipulating and using Disney villains to convey a made-up story about a made-up tulip princess? Comment below.
Please, because I've already written verbally a better story than this was. So, coming back to the rating.
That was literally the most compelling.
Thank you. Oh, amazing. Leave it. Don't bother. Don't do it. Unless you want to commit to 10 books, go for it. Maybe like Christina said, if you've read it, please give us the clarity that we seek, because this don't make no sense. It don't make no sense.
We need your magic to help us see
this witch.
Mm-hmm. And if not, honestly, like, you know, Claudia was able to just out of thin air develop the ideal Ursula backstory. Go read some fan fiction. We've been doing this for decades now, and I'm sure you will find what you're looking for.
Or I could just do it myself. Even though I'm not a huge fan of fan fiction. Like, I'm sure that there is good fan fiction, but I feel like it's hard to find very good fan fiction.
That being said, anything will be better than
anything.
Because this wasn't even about Ursula. This was about Princess Tulip.
This wasn't about anything.
And Plant the cat. Thank you for this.
Thank you for listening to our delirium. For however long this will end up being. We appreciate you. And if you're finding us and you're not subscribed or following us, I don't understand why you're not. We're a good time.
We're going to have to go consult a sea witch to sort you out.
If I need to make a deal, sign a contract. I'm not selling my voice, though. I don't know what I'll sell, though. Ursula and I will figure it out, what we sell. But anyway, hope you have a good day. And join our family, because you know you want to.
Anywhere you have an account, I'm pretty sure we do too. Find us at Evilly Yours English, and we look forward to seeing you all live next weekend, opening weekend for The Little Mermaid in Disney Springs,
where we will actually be recording in the same room together. Like, we don't see each other outside of this. Like,
yeah, it's just. Yeah. But thanks for listening.
Thank you. See you next time.
Bye.